Hello, welcome everyone. Here I am. It's been so long since I've been streaming live. Who will I get? I tell you what, the last stream that I watched, I got a new subscriber. Oh, I think my phone just dinged saying it is going to work. So it's been a long time, and I'm not sure if everything is all set up and ready to go, but we're giving it a try. It says I'm live, but you know how that goes. So if I do get a comment, that'll help me. Let me know if the video's working. I'm streaming live here. We're going to paint the picture that Nic Hankins did on his Earth Day. I don't even know. I forgot to change the title. I don't know if I can do that after the fact. I have no idea what's going to happen. I got someone walking around the upstairs, so you might hear some creaking and crackling. You know what? I'm just going to get going. This will be recorded and uploaded to my YouTube channel. Same thing, Nature's Brush Studio. Is the same as my Facebook. It's the same as my website. I wish I had thought a little bit more and prepared a little bit more, but that's how we go. Oh, I'm supposed to click on the click live button. Okay. Well, it says offline. I don't really know. I don't really know if this is going to work. Well, it says now live on Wednesday. Oh, it says January 2023. I wonder how I can I change that? I do not know. Anyways, let's go ahead and prep our canvas here. I've got my 1-inch brush and I've got my big jar of liquid white. I do have my 12x16 Bob Ross canvas. And I'm just going to start spreading some of this stuff. Ooh, that was a lot. Just start spreading this stuff until I get that nice thin layer. Now, if you watch Nic's stream on the official Bob Ross channel, this is going to be somewhat familiar. And I'm just going to do the steps somewhat like Nic did, and I might have to go back and really start doing some research on Twitch streams again. I used to stream on Twitch every Wednesday for almost a year. I think I had like 40 weeks in a row, and then my classes took off and I really didn't have time to do all that I was doing before, including my Twitch streaming. I might get back into it now that I'm full-time. I don't have a separate job anymore with my classes, and I do enjoy streaming. I was streaming all over through Reddit during the shutdown, most of 2020 anyways. And then that ended. That whole platform, the Reddit RPAN, Public Access Network subreddit. I don't know what all happened there. All I know is I'm not streaming there anymore. You can see I'm just going back and forth over and over this again. That little light gray tone of the canvas turns nice white. And I just like spreading and spreading and spreading. I can tell right up here it's still a little bit heavy. One easy way to get off a little bit of excess paint is clean out your brush. Really scrub the heck out of it. And then your dry brush will pick up some of the excess liquid white. If you've got too much, you can simply just wipe it with a paper towel. Watch that paper towel just float away. Or just pick up a little bit. And we'll do our little fingertip test here. And let's see there. You see how it's just a thin amount, very light little fingerprint on your fingertip. That means we're good to go. Okay, now if I remember my video correctly, and you know me, I'm not much of a preparer here, but I did watch the video live and chatted it up a little bit with some people. I'm a certified instructor out of Michigan, and I teach classes all over Michigan, and occasionally I travel the country putting on some special events. I was recently in South Carolina, and I'm getting ready to do a couple more trips. So let's see what we got. We've got our standard basic set colors here, our titanium white, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, a little bit of sap green, and of course the cadmium yellow. I like taking my knife and flattening down the colors a little bit. It helps me to load the brush, and it helps stick the paint to the palette. So I just flatten it out a little bit, and not even really cleaning the brush. I scrubbed it out on a paper towel. We don't have to go through the whole cleaning procedure if you don't want to. You certainly can if you feel like it, but I'm going to tap into a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Really beat it into the brush. So a little bit of color here. Come over, pick up just a little touch of the alizarin crimson, and it kind of gives you a peachy tone. Tap, 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 and a little goes a long way. So let's see what we got. There we go. Sort of dulls that bright yellow down a little bit. And I just go across, picking up a little bit. And you can add as much or as little yellow to your canvas as you like. If you want it a little bolder, pick up a little more color and add to it. Notice I'm just working this into the canvas here. There we go. And then I scrub out the brush. And when I'm saying I'm scrubbing out the brush, I'm literally just stirring it into a paper towel, getting off some of the excess gooiness. Then I'm going to go right into just the pure crimson here. Beat a little bit into the brush. A little bit at a time. We can always add more. And I just start swirling back and forth, adding a little bit here, and just very gently blending right where the yellow and the red meet, just to get it started. You want a little bolder, a little less pink as it picks up the liquid white. I grab a little bit more color and just drop it in. Working this just a little bit. We'll come by and do some soft blending here. Now, with a little bit of that crimson, I add just a least little touch of phthalo blue. We just want to create a violet color here. Now, how much you add, of course, will change it, but beat it into your brush. Work it in. You're mixing the color that's in the bristles. And then we can add it right up to the top here. Okay, a little bit more. You can change the flavor a couple of times if you want to. Drop some in, make it a little more purple in some spots. A little redder, a little bluer. It's completely up to you. I'm going to add a little bit more blue and drop it up here in the corners. Here and there. There we go. let's clean out that brush. Scrub it out. Sometimes I wrap the brush like that, give it a good squeeze. Now that you've got most of the paint out of your brush, I can go over it again with this feather touch, just very lightly, crisscross strokes, allowing this transition here to start to happen. Okay? Softly go over it, right where the red and yellow meet, and then I work up to where the red and that little purpley violet color meets, and I just keep working my way up. And look at that. Look how simple it is to drop in a little sky. Now, of course, I'm just going to come back here. Of course, I forget about the water sometimes, but I'm going to drop a little bit of the crimson into the water, using a basic horizontal stroke. Something like that. And if you want to, you make up that purple color again. A little bit of crimson, just a touch of the phthalo blue. A little goes a long way. It'll get very blue very quick. And I just try to go from the outside in. Pull a little bit of that purple color. Hide some of that pinky spot if you think you got too much. There we go. Now, when you're doing this, you may find that just you need to load the brush once or twice more. It's no big deal. Maybe you want it a little bolder, a little less pastel. Okay? Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with making it the way you want it. Doesn't have to look like mine. When you're following along with a Bob Ross episode, you don't have to make it look like Bob's. I encourage you to experiment. Make something a little different. There we go. Now, one last time, once you get the basic shade out there, that's all we really need is just get it the way that the color that you like it, the shade of violet. Then with that cleaned out brush, I go over it just to help bring it all together. Okay, got a little hair there. If you get a hair, just hold the brush straight up and down, hook it off. Okay. It does look a little bright. Now that I'm getting some color on there, I can see my light source is maybe a touch bright. So, let's turn that light a little bit. I know it looks a little white right up here due to the lights of the studio. It's not so much when you see it. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do here, gosh, how did, oh, that's right. We got to make up our own mountain mixture color here. I've been cheating for a little while using the Bob Ross mountain mixture tube of color, but I also like to follow how Bob did it. He'll just use purple. But I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a bit of crimson and about the same amount of the sap green, and I'm going to make a brown color. Equal amounts of crimson and sap green make a beautiful medium brown. Look at that. Your little 5-color palette becomes a 6-color. Right there. Now, let's just move some of that brown over. I'm going to take a little bit of that brown We'll use some of that. And I'm also going to make just a little bit of purple color here. Look at that. I think I ran out of crimson. Where, oh where did my crimson color go? Okay, this is where I get to the point of the video where I edit out my mistakes. But if you're watching live, well, you'll get to see everything warts and all. I'm going to make up a purple color here. I think I've already changed how Nick did his. That's okay. I'm going to take some of this purpley blue color, add it in to the brown. Purple and brown. Oh, that gives me a nice dark shade. I cut off a little roll of paint, and let's make our mountain shape. Just worried about making a basic little shape here. Start somewhere. Just push that paint right into the fabric. Look at that. Just press it in there. And then raise the angle up and scrape away the excess. Little roll of paint, and I'm just pushing it in, pressing firmly so I get that nice clean line. And we just start to bring this slope a little bit down to the right, and this one over here, pressing it in, bring this one a little bit down to the left. Okay, just trying to get a nice outside edge there. Press that color in, scrape it away. And it doesn't need to be completely covered either. You don't have to do the whole mountain at once here. We're going to have some time to change things and maybe add another peak right here. I just do that same thing again. Press that in and pull it right on through. And we'll just meander down to the right there. Scrape some of that away. That's all we need to do. Just getting some dirty color. Then we'll take this brush. I like to press in and then just pull right on out. We're trying to move this color downwards here. Pull, and then just swipe and fill this in here. If you imagine here your peaks, every peak needs a little bit of a highlight, that nice bright snow, and some shadow. So I try to pull some of it to the right and some of it to the left. Now you can see right there my next hot tip of the day. Don't go over it so much. The more you go over it, the lighter it gets. Every time I make a stroke down, like that, I'm picking up a little bit of that liquid white. If I go right back up to the top, I'll deposit that white and make my darkest area lighter. Let's try to leave some of it nice and dark here. Just bringing this down, building out the basic shape of our mountain. See how this gets dark and lighter as we go down to the bottom here? I can just feather this out. Look how it just floats. That mountain is just sort of floating in the sky there. Alright, what am I using here? Well, I'm using a knife that had some paint on it, and I'm getting it all over myself. Unlike Nick, I tend to get paint on myself still. I've been doing this a few years now, and I haven't quite mastered getting the paint on the canvas. I get it on my hand pretty well. I'm pretty good at that. But this next month will mark 8 years of me painting like Bob, and 6 years of me teaching the Bob Ross method. So I'm going to pull out some paint here. Add a little bit of yellow on there. We don't want the yellow snow today. Maybe in a April Fool's painting. But Not today. No yellow snow. So I get this little roll of the titanium white, and very lightly. Nic showed this great little tip in his video. You want to hold that knife so loosely in your fingers. Okay, no pushing in. I would avoid having your finger out like this, or climbed up like this. You just want a very light touch. You feel that paint stick, and just let it graze on down. You can see right when I pull away, I picked up some of that undercolor. If you come right back up and just try to keep spreading it, it'll keep getting darker on you. So try to use a fresh roll every pathway that you make here. Be a little easier to see on my main peak here. Very light touch. And just give your knife a little path right on down. I messed up a little right there. I'm going to throw that in. Very light touch. As you're doing this, you may need to scrape up your little runway here and re-spread it out. Wipe the knife clean, cut across and get that nice roll of paint. That's a big roll of paint. You don't have to use that much. And I'm just making a series of pathways, trying to figure out how much of this mountain we want to see against the light. And I think that's pretty good for now. We'll maybe change it up a little bit. I use the short edge of the knife. I just turn my knife upside down and get this little one up here, and maybe we'll have a little peak right there that's catching a little light. It's off in the background perhaps, so we really wouldn't see too much. Now, let's take some of that white and add just a touch of the blue to it, a little phthalo blue. I stir that together. It does not take very much. We're talking just a little pinprick of the blue in order to make our shadow color. You can always add a little bit more if you want, but once you add too much, it takes a lot of white to lighten it up. Okay, if you get some kind of marbly look like that, hold it up there. And I always tell my students, ask yourself two questions. Is this shadow color darker than the white and lighter than the background? If you can answer yes, I think you're ready. Let's clean our knife here. Cut off that roll of paint. There we go. And I like to line this up and bring a little bit out the opposite direction of your highlights. I say that just for the lefties there, or whenever you're making a mountain, you can put highlights on the left side if you like. As long as the shadows go a different direction, it's going to look correct. It's going to look three-dimensional. There we go. Nice light touch. And as I start to work this down, notice how I'm just making a series of pathways. Try not to go on top of the white. Okay. Get some of that started there. Can't forget about this one right here. Little pathways. There we go. Now if we want to change something up, I go back to the highlight color, and I want to bring this little ridge out in front of the shadow there. So I just use my highlight color and literally just make another piece and go down to the right. When you do that, it gives that little three-dimensional look. It really works out better if you come in and make a new shadow under this new ridge that you've got started here. See that? Also, I don't think Nick went over this in his video, but you can actually create all new peaks just by creating the highlight, just a series of little pathways, new ones. Look at that. Whenever you make a new one with highlights, I come back with the shadow. That's what really makes it stand out. Very light touch. Very light touch. I know it sounds like I'm scraping the canvas, but it's just barely touching. And you can come back and maybe I want to extend this one out a little bit. That's okay. Just continuing where I left off. Try not to like spread butter on toast, you know. You just want to go over it with a feather touch so that it makes a little more sense here. Now, let's see. Nick makes this fun little color here with let's take some of this mountain color that we made and let's add our shadow color to it. Oh, I know I already skipped a step. I'll have to come back after I make this color. Maybe a touch more of the white. Let's lighten it up. The lighter it is, the further away it's going to look. Okay, so I use some of that mountain color. I'm going to add just a little bit more green to it. And a little more white till you get the flavor that works for you. Ooh, I like that. And we're going to make a foothill color, but we got to drop our knife and then let's create a little bit of mist and fog here. So very lightly, I just want to tap following the basic angles of my highlight. Even this one here. And then I sweep very light, just a light touch from the bottom up, just to soften it and create a little bit of mist on one side. Don't forget about a little shadow. Tappa, tappa, tappa. Sweepy, sweepy, sweep. Even a little bit right there. Don't have to spend a lot of time on this, you know. If you want to soften it even more, I give it a couple of quick crisscrosses at the bottom. Hopefully not pick up too much color there. There we go. A couple of little sweeps at the bottom. And look at that misty mountain. Maybe even a little over here. I would have tried to avoid tapping all the way up. It doesn't quite look right if you tap the whole mountain away. And it will tap away if you keep going over it. Boy, I'm just cruising right along, aren't I? Little bit of this color. I load this sort of like the sky, just a little bit more color in the brush. You can see a little bumpy texture starting to form here. It's a little bit more paint. Back and forth, tapping. We're going to put in this foothill just by pulling down. You're using not the full width of the brush. You can, but I find that you have a little bit more control if you just use the corner. And I pull down. I change up my angles here. You see how you can create these sort of little bumps and variations. Load the brush as you need to here. And notice how I overlapped a good portion of that misty area, but leave a little bit. Okay. A little bit more paint in the brush will allow it to come off a little darker, but variation is good. Okay, you don't have to have it all the exact same all the way across, you know? And then, when I clean out the brush, we can use that same brush for putting the color on and softening the color. We do so often with making clouds. We put on that thick, heavy amount of color, and then just clean out the brush, and we can soften what's there. Get it nice and clean. And then we get to hold on to our easel here, and I'm mashing downwards, in and down, down and in. When you do that, you soften that color automatically. And if I was quizzing my class here, I would ask them, why do you think it misses that out and creates this nice light effect at the bottom of your foothill? That's because of the liquid white. It allows you to blend and soften color. And I'll give it a little, very light little lift. And a couple of crisscross. Boy, that really fades out. The more you go over it, the more it will fade. And then we make another foothill. One is fine. Two is just more fun. I'm going to add a touch more of that brown color, touch more of that mountain color, and a bit more of the green. Right into that same pile. No more additional white. Okay, maybe just a bare hint of the blue. We're going for a darker, slightly bolder color. Okay, does that work? If not, change it up. Just a little bit of this color, spreading it out. And make it the way you like it. Once again, I load a bit of color into that 1-inch brush. And covering some of the previous foothill, I make a new one with a little bit more of this darker color. Look at that. It just forces the eye to see this as closer to us. I've seen Bob do many a foothill here, and you can add as many of these as you want. Overlapping. You can put in a whole mess of these. And I think here, I'm not sure, did Nick? I think Nick did soften this one as well. So clean out our brush a bit, and I'm just going to tappa, soften the bottom a little bit. Create just a little bit of mist using the paint that's already on the canvas. See that? Just a little bit there. The more you tap it, the lighter it gets. Something like that. Now, with a little bit of that color that's in the brush here, if you need a touch more, just a little bit. Notice I'm tapping way down here to make sure I don't pick up too much of that paint. Holding that brush level, I drop the handle. Press in and pull down. Over here where it's taller, I bring it down just a little further. We're creating a little bit of reflection in our water. And we try to mirror it size-wise, something similar to what's already there. Okay, I bring it down vertically, very gently. I brush across it sideways or horizontally. Look at that little reflection right there. Using a touch of our liquid white, I just get a little droplet on my knife here and just smear it in. I think Nick used a touch of the brown to tint it a little bit, but it's up to you. That's pretty dark. I'm going to take just a little bit of that and lighten it up over here. And we want the paint this time on the edge of the knife, not the sides. So I like to say, just come in and just like you're chopping vegetables, Bob likes to do this crossover, this little slice sideways. Whatever works for you, as long as you get it on the knife there. I saw, just like literally try to saw through the canvas. Get that color on, move on. And having that little bit of brown or foothill color helps dull it down a little bit. Okay, so it's not super stark white. And I like to mix it up. I try to avoid just one straight line. Make some little horizontal lines. And you can create coves and all sorts of different layers in there. Okay. So, now that we've gotten that done, I'm taking my knife here and getting rid of some of this light stuff. As we work our way forward here, things get darker and bolder in value, you know? So we get rid of our white, and let's mix up a nice batch of our dark color. I've got my mountain mixture here. Let's make a little bit more. Gonna make our purple, which is alizarin crimson and a bit less of phthalo blue. Actually, I made a little bit more phthalo blue. Oop, I got a little dry spot there, a little dried oil paint there. Nick gave a great example of this. Equal amounts of our crimson, blue, and brown. Or was it crimson, blue, and green? Doesn't really matter. I'm going to add a little bit more green. I think it was. You have to go back and watch that video. But as long as the color is just nice and dark, there's a number of ways to get there. I think I'm going to need a little bit more green eventually, so let's go ahead and take a moment, spread this down. I have no idea if anyone is watching this stream. Maybe I'll take a break, take a breath, and see if I can't see this on my Twitch stream. See, I got totally blank. It's totally blank, and I have no idea. What, I got to go to like the dashboard maybe? Not even sure where that is anymore. I am not a smart man. Where the heck is my dashboard? Oh, I might not even be logged in. Now it's asking me for a code. Well, this is embarrassing. Oh my gosh, there is someone there. Oh. The screen is black, huh? Well, I am terrible. I have no idea why. It says offline, doesn't it? Wow, here I am just yammering and talking, and who knows. I apologize. Ugh, I am terrible. So, anyways, this will be, if I can get this loaded up to YouTube, then I'll upload it to Twitch, I think. Oh, man, I am just disappointed in myself. I should have done a test stream or something. Okay, well, Nick used the 1-inch brush for making our happy little trees here today. So, let's take this color, really wiggle and pull. Oh, and my dog decided to join the stream here. She's over just spinning on her back looking for attention. Maisie, you want to come over and say hi? She doesn't come to me so well. Lots of color. Look how I just spin that to a nice chiseled edge. There we go. At least you guys can see it when I upload to YouTube. At least it's recording. All right, let's add a nice little evergreen. Need a lot of paint to do it. And sometimes when you only have that pile, that thin little runway, I just gather it back up. So I can load it right back up there. Okay, make that a little bit bolder. There it is. This is just more of a guideline for you to follow. It doesn't need to be a perfect line. Using, I need even more paint. And let's just tapping from the center. I start building my tree from the top down, tapping and going out, tapping in the center and going out. As I go down the tree, I can tap a little harder. And we just make a basic dark shape. That's the important bit. Just a basic dark shape. You need a little bolder. Sometimes I go back and make it a little bolder. I'm going to add a touch more of my colors here. You need more paint than you realize. There's going to be some leftovers, but if you don't load up the brush enough, it just won't work as well. Lots of paint. That way you can do more happy, happy trees. There we go. And let's give this guy a little friend right next to him. He's a little shorter. Just a basic shape. That's all we're looking for. Now, while I have all this paint, we gotta give him a big friend over here. And ooh, are we gonna go ultra big? I think we are. Get that basic shape out there. Have them nice and narrow. I like to bring my brush over and down so that when I tap, the bristles fold and make the shape for you. And one thing I like to mention is reload often. And if you can't get the paint loaded up, just gather it all back up into a pile. And then you can load that brush a little easier. Ooh, this is a big tree down here. Put a couple little extra arms in there if you need to. And look at this monster. I think that's pretty good. And then, let's just connect them. Now, if you remember Bob liked to say, "Oh, just fill this in." You can swipe it back and forth like that. You can just tap. You can use a roller or an old shoe. And I believe it was old Miss Paint with Faye that actually used a shoe during a live stream. And back in the day, I used the roller just to drop it in. It works. Not necessary, but it's fun. Okay, what I like to do is I like to take my knife here, no paint in it, I just come right up underneath the edge of the knife and I cut upwards. Bob said, making that little one hair stalk. There we go. And with a touch of white and a little touch of the brown, we can put in a little indication of trunk here and there. Doesn't have to go from top to bottom. It's very effective with just here and there, a couple of touches like that. I think Bob would also once in a while just create some little sticks and twigs and little curly things. And then let's take a little bit of our liquid white and go right into some of this cadmium yellow. I'm grabbing a little bit, pulling it down. You may get a little tint happening already with the color that's in the brush. If it's not tinted to your liking, grab a little bit of green. Look at that, I'm loading this brush at the same time I'm mixing, thinning, and tinting. Look at that, nice sharp edge. And let's pick out our trees here. Touch, 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 touch. A little bit more color. Touch, 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 touch. Here and there. Sometimes it takes a couple of brush loads to get it highlighted. Try not to over highlight. Here and there works awfully well. And if it's not coming off very easily, you either need more paint or it needs to be just a little bit thinner, or maybe both. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and put some bushes in there. I'm going to squeeze off some of that excess paint. One thing that is recommended is having a couple of brushes of each type. That way you can have a dark brush and a light brush. So I'm going to pull, holding that brush level, I pull and get that paint. You can see it, you create this nice little texture, this little bumpy texture as I'm pulling this stipply look. You get that stipply look on the palette, you'll get that stipply look when you push it in and make a couple of basic bush shapes. Reload the brush often so you get that nice dark color. And overlap the trees a little bit. That gives the impression that the bush is in front. Nearly out of paint. If you're not getting it, if it's just sort of muddying up, make a little bit more. Sometimes we use very little paint, like when we're doing the sky. But when we start working in the foreground here, it works better when you have more paint on the brush. See this one? Ooh, there it is, nice and dark, right? Want that nice and dark so that it stands out from the background. There we go. And let's see. That's where it really helps to have that spare brush here, because I went right to the dark and then I want to go right into a highlight color again. So I need to take off some of that excess dark. Moving right along, I dip my brush into a little bit of that liquid white again. Just doink. See that? Just doink. Get a little bit more on the brush. I'm going to start pulling once again. Pulling through, creating a thinner mix. See if you can see that a little closer here. If it looks a little too pastel, pull in a little bit more color and then tint it. Try to get a color that speaks to you here. Lots of paint. Look at that, lots of paint. I can get that light to reflect. You can see lots of paint right there on the tips of the bristles. That allows me to barely touch, and I make a basic bush shape. You are depositing some chunky paint here. See that? Oh my goodness. Look at that bright color. I'm going to tint this just a little bit. I actually added a touch of the phthalo blue. That changes the color a little bit. Just like using sap green, just a different flavor. Slightly above the dark. Really, excuse me, really light touch. That allows it to have some texture to it. One more right there. Maybe. That's right there. Something like that. And now, just to change up the brush, look at that. I just smash it sideways, give it a little flat on both sides, sort of bringing it to that chiseled edge again, and then pushing forward, getting it right up on the tips of the bristles. And I can come in here and start making a little bit of grass. Tapping. Let that dark color and the highlight work together. You put on that nice bright bit and keep tapping, and it automatically creates all these different layers in your painting just by using the same color. look at that grassy thing start to happen. And I just let it get a little darker and darker as I go down to the bottom and out to the corners there. But anytime you want, if you want a little bright bit, I just come right back to my bright stuff, push forward, get that paint right there on the tips of the bristles. And then you can make a little spot there where the sun is particularly zinging across it. Keep tapping. And there we go. And I think we've got ourselves a finished painting there. And like Nick showed here, I'm just going to scratch in a couple of sticks and twigs in these dark areas. And you can even use the knife to sign it. There we go. I am so sorry for my Twitch friends there. I didn't have this set up correctly here, but if I can get it uploaded, maybe you'll see it again. If not, follow my my YouTube channel, and I'll have this uploaded sometime today. I'm going to work on it right after lunch. So, thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time.